Welcome to A to Z Tales. Today, you'll discover why calm silence destroys chaos, how to control emotional reactions, how to build presence without talking, and how to earn respect by speaking less. Silence is not weakness. Silence is strategy. And emotionally intelligent people use it to control chaos, protect their energy, and earn a level of respect that loud people never receive. Today, I'm going to show you why speaking less gives you more power, more clarity, more stability, and more influence. This is the story of how calm silence defeats emotional noise, and how you can use it to transform every conversation, every conflict, and every moment of your life. Let's begin. Chapter 1. Stop speaking first. You speak too fast. You react too fast. You jump into conversations because silence makes you uncomfortable. But here's the truth you've avoided. The first reaction is usually the weakest reaction. And emotionally intelligent people know this. They wait, they breathe, they watch, they let the chaos settle before they choose their move. You have a choice. And that choice begins with one simple discipline. Stop speaking first. Most people think speed equals intelligence. It doesn't. Speed equals panic. Speed equals insecurity. Speed equals fear disguised as confidence. A calm pause, on the other hand, shows control. A calm pause shows maturity. A calm pause shows power. This is the key. Slow mind, strong mind. Say it again. Slow mind, strong mind. Think about the workplace debate you've seen 100 times. Someone jumps in loudly, forcefully, desperately trying to prove they're the smartest person in the room. They talk in circles. They contradict themselves. They lose credibility with every rushed sentence. Meanwhile, the quiet observer, the one who waits, listens, absorbs, becomes the person everyone eventually turns to. Why? Because silence builds authority. Silence builds accuracy. Silence builds trust. You don't need their permission to stay quiet. You don't need their approval to take your time. You don't need to perform for anyone. Your silence is not confusion. Your silence is preparation. When you speak last, you speak with clarity, not panic. And clarity always wins. Always. This is not about fear. It's about discipline. This is not about hiding. It's about choosing your moment. This is not about weakness. It's about strength earned through restraint. You have a choice to react or to control, to talk or to think, to rush or to rise. And when you master this discipline, when you stop speaking first, you gain a power most people will never understand. You've taken your first step into controlled silence. Now let's build on that power. Chapter 2. Silence exposes truth. Silence is a spotlight. When you stop talking, something powerful happens. Other people begin revealing themselves. Their motives, their intentions, their fears, their lies. All of it surfaces the moment you stop filling the space for them. You have a choice. You can rush to respond, or you can let silence do what words can't. Most people talk to hide. They talk to distract. They talk to avoid being seen. That's why your silence is uncomfortable for them. It forces the truth to appear. Emotionally intelligent people don't interrogate. They observe. They let the other person unravel naturally. Think about expert negotiators. They use long, heavy pauses, not because they're unsure, but because they understand human nature. Silence pressures the other side. Silence shakes their confidence. Silence forces them to reveal details, weaknesses, and hidden agendas. Slow mind, strong mind. Silence isn't empty space. Silence is strategy. You don't need their permission to stay quiet and watch. You don't need to compete with their noise. You don't need to rush to prove anything. Because here's the truth. Sloppy talkers expose themselves. They reveal what they fear. They reveal what they want. They reveal what they're trying to hide. All you have to do is wait. That's the discipline. This is not about manipulation. It's about clarity. It's not about tricking others. It's about finally seeing what's real. When you let silence do the work, you gain the advantage. You gain the information. You gain the truth. And truth is power. Truth gives you better decisions, better boundaries, better relationships. You have a choice. Fill the space or read the space. Talk impulsively or listen with intelligence. Reveal yourself or let others reveal themselves first. You're learning the power behind quiet observation. Now let's go deeper into internal control. Chapter 3: Emotion Without Noise. Your emotions are real. Your emotions are powerful. But here's the mistake most people make. They express everything they feel the moment they feel it. They explode. They react. They raise their voice, speed up their words, and lose control before they even know what happened. And that's why they lose respect. You have a choice. You can feel your emotions without feeding them. Emotionally intelligent people don't suppress emotions. They manage them. They use silence as a cooling space, a buffer between the feeling and the reaction. They understand a simple truth. When you speak emotionally, you speak inaccurately. And inaccurate words create long-term damage. This is where discipline beats impulse. This is where silence beats chaos. This is where restraint beats regret. Imagine a heated argument with someone you love. They shout, they accuse, they demand a reaction. When you raise your voice, the fire grows. When you defend, the fire grows. But when you stay silent, not passive, not defeated, just calm and centered, you shift the entire dynamic. Your silence becomes a mirror. Their anger looks foolish next to your stillness. Respect returns. Control returns. Clarity returns. You don't need their permission to take a breath. You don't need to match their volume to protect yourself. You don't need to argue to prove your worth. Because this isn't about pride. It's about discipline. It's not about winning the moment. It's about winning the relationship. It's not about noise. It's about control. Feel it, don't feed it. Say it again. Feel it, don't feed it. When you master silence during emotional storms, you become untouchable. People trust you more. People listen to you more. People follow you more. Your calm becomes your authority. You've learned how silence protects your emotions. Now let's shift to how silence amplifies your impact. Chapter 4: Speak only when you add value. Most people speak because they feel uncomfortable with quiet. They speak to fill space. They speak to be noticed. But emotionally intelligent people know something different. Words are tools, not decorations. And tools must be used with discipline. You have a choice. You can talk to impress, or you can talk to impact. When you speak less, every word becomes sharper. When you speak less, people lean in. When you speak less, your presence grows heavier. But when you talk constantly, you dilute yourself. You weaken your message. You become predictable, noisy, forgettable. So you must build a new rule for your life. Do not speak unless you add value. Not noise, not ego, not filler. Value. Look at powerful leaders. They are not the ones who speak the most. They're the ones who speak with intention. A few sentences from them can calm a team, redirect a project, or shift an entire atmosphere. They don't chase attention. They command it, because restraint builds respect. You don't need their permission to stay quiet. You don't need to jump in to prove you belong. You don't need to respond just because someone expects you to. This isn't about fear, it's about discipline. It's not about staying silent forever, it's about choosing your moment. It's not about speaking less, it's about speaking better. Before you open your mouth, ask yourself, am I adding clarity? Am I adding direction? Am I adding something that makes this conversation stronger? If the answer is no, stay silent. That silence will serve you more than any rushed sentence ever could. Your life changes when you value your words. Your reputation changes when you guard your voice. Your influence grows when your silence becomes as strong as your speech. You've learned the discipline of intentional words. Now let's explore a deeper power. Chapter 5. Silence builds mystery and presence. People don't respect what they fully understand. People don't admire what's predictable. And people don't pay attention to someone who reveals everything all the time with endless talking. That's why emotionally intelligent people do something different. They let silence build their presence. They let silence create mystery. They let silence do the heavy lifting. You have a choice. You can be the person everyone overlooks or the person everyone watches. When you talk less, people start wondering. When you talk less, people start listening harder. When you talk less, your presence expands without effort. Mystery is not manipulation. Mystery is discipline. It means you don't rush to explain yourself. You don't overshare. You don't try to force people to understand you. Because you finally realize you don't need their permission. You don't need to justify your thoughts. You don't need to prove anything to anyone. Think of that quiet student in a classroom or that quiet professional in a meeting. They barely speak, but when they do, everyone turns toward them. Their silence creates anticipation. Their restraint creates impact. Their presence grows, not because they demand it, but because they earn it through control. This is not about hiding. It's about elevating. It's not about being mysterious for attention. It's about being intentional with your energy. It's not about fear. It's about discipline. Your silence forces people to notice the way you walk, the way you think, the way you choose your words, and that makes you memorable. That makes you respected. That makes you someone whose voice carries weight, even before you say a single word. You have a choice. Be noise or be presence. Be obvious or be unforgettable. You've learned how silence shapes how others perceive you. Now let's sharpen your internal power even further. Chapter 6. Don't react, observe. Most people live in reaction mode. Someone says something irritating and they snap. Someone challenges them and they defend. Someone disrespects them and they explode. But emotionally intelligent people move differently. They observe first. They respond later. And that tiny gap between stimulus and response is where all their power lives. You have a choice. You can be reactive, or you can be strategic. When you react immediately, your emotions drive the car. When you react immediately, your ego takes control. When you react immediately, you miss the truth. Observation changes everything. Observation slows the moment down. Observation allows you to see what other people are blind to. Tone, intention, fear, insecurity, manipulation. Observers don't get pulled into the chaos. They stand above it. Imagine a conflict in the workplace. One person panics. One person gets defensive. Everyone talks over each other. And then there's you, the quiet one, the observer. You notice who's angry, who's unsure, who's bluffing, who's overcompensating. You see the whole battlefield before making your move. That's not weakness. That's strategy. Slow mind, strong mind. You don't need their permission to take a moment. You don't need to justify your silence. You don't need to explain why you're thinking. This is not about avoidance. It's about intelligence. It's not about silence for silence's sake. It's about gathering information. It's not about fear. It's about discipline. When you observe first, your decisions become cleaner. Your communication becomes sharper. Your boundaries become stronger. You stop reacting to chaos and start controlling the situation. People who react get manipulated. People who observe become unpredictable. People who observe become powerful. You have a choice. Jump into the noise or rise above it. You've learned the discipline of observation. Now let's add another layer of strategic power. Chapter 7. Use pauses as power. Most people rush their words. They speak without breathing, without thinking, without intention. They fear silence inside their sentences. But emotionally intelligent people understand something deeper. The pause is the power. The pause is what makes your words land. The pause is what makes people listen. You have a choice. You can speak to fill time, or you can speak to create impact. A pause is not weakness. A pause is not hesitation. A pause is control. Public speakers know this. Leaders know this. Negotiators know this. The best communicators don't rush. They rhythm their message. They use silence like punctuation. They use silence like emphasis. They use silence like a spotlight that shines directly on the point they want people to remember. Think of someone giving an important speech. If they speak too quickly, the message gets lost. But when they pause, just long enough for the listener to feel the weight of what was said, everything changes. The words hit harder. The meaning grows heavier. The respect increases instantly. That is the power of purposeful silence. You don't need their permission to take your time. You don't need to race your thoughts to prove you understand. You don't need to apologize for gathering your clarity. This is not about talking slowly. It's not about dragging conversations. It's about owning the space your words live in. A well-placed pause shows confidence. It shows patience. It shows a calm mind that refuses to be rushed by pressure, fear, or expectation. And when your pauses are intentional, your listeners trust you more. They believe you more. They follow you more. Pause, then strike. It's not about speed. It's about precision. It's not about noise. It's about mastery. You've learned how pauses amplify your voice. Now let's learn how silence protects your peace. Chapter 8. Withdraw from drama. Drama feeds on reaction. It needs someone to argue. It needs someone to defend. It needs someone to take the bait. That's why emotionally intelligent people do something radical. They withdraw. They step away. They refuse to feed the fire. You have a choice. You can fuel chaos, or you can starve it. Drama is exhausting because it demands your energy. Drama is manipulative because it pulls you into battles that don't matter. Drama is loud because it wants attention it never earned. But silence kills drama instantly. Silence creates distance. Silence protects your mental space. When you refuse to react, when you refuse to play the emotional game, the drama collapses. It loses its power without your participation. Picture a family conflict. a workplace meltdown, or a friend who thrives on chaos. They complain, they provoke, they create emotional storms to feel alive. And then there's you, calm, quiet, unbothered. You don't argue, you don't justify, you don't match their chaos. Your silence becomes your shield. Your silence becomes your authority. You don't need their permission to walk away. You don't need to respond to every accusation. You don't need to explain your piece to anyone. This is not about avoidance. It's about self-respect. It's not about shutting people out. It's about refusing toxic invitations. It's not about being cold. It's about being disciplined. Say it clearly. If you don't feed it, it dies. Withdraw from chaos. Withdraw from pointless arguments. Withdraw from emotional traps designed to pull you backward. Your silence will confuse them. Your silence will frustrate them. Your silence will protect you. You have a choice. Stay in the noise or rise into clarity. You've learned how silence destroys unnecessary conflict. Now let's explore how silence turns you into someone no one can predict. Chapter 9. Silence makes you unpredictable. Predictable people are easy to control, easy to manipulate, easy to read. When everyone knows exactly how you'll respond, you lose power before you even open your mouth. That's why emotionally intelligent people master a different approach. They become unpredictable through silence. They don't announce every thought. They don't reveal every emotion. They don't expose their next move. You have a choice. You can be an open book, or you can be a locked vault. When you reveal too much, people use your words against you. When you explain too much, people learn your weaknesses. When you react too quickly, people map your patterns. But when you're silent, calm, steady, observant, people can't tell what you're thinking. They can't read your intentions. They can't predict your next step. That unpredictability creates a natural authority. It keeps people cautious, respectful, and attentive around you. Imagine someone trying to provoke you. They insult you. They challenge you. They push for a reaction. Most people would argue, defend, or retaliate. But you stay quiet. You stay centered. You stay in control. And suddenly, the power shifts. They don't know if you're unaffected, planning your response, or simply disinterested. That uncertainty works in your favor. Silence becomes your strategy. You don't need their permission to hold your thoughts. You don't need to announce your plans to feel confident. You don't need to justify your silence to anyone. This is not about secrecy. It's about strength. It's not about hiding. It's about protecting your energy. It's not about fear. It's about discipline. Say it again. Quiet people become strategic people. When your silence makes you unpredictable, your presence becomes powerful. People stop underestimating you. People stop manipulating you. People start respecting you. You've learned how silence becomes your strategy. Now let's bring everything together in your final transformation. Chapter 10. Build a life that doesn't need validation. Most people speak to be approved. They speak to be liked. They speak to be understood by everyone around them. But emotionally intelligent people rise above this trap. They know that a loud life is often an insecure life, and a silent life, built on discipline, purpose, and self-respect, needs no validation at all. You have a choice. You can chase approval, or you can build certainty. When you stop explaining yourself, you stop begging for acceptance. When you stop defending yourself, you stop giving others power over your emotions. When you stop seeking validation, you finally build a life that is yours. This is where silence becomes freedom, because the moment you no longer need everyone to understand you, you become unstoppable. You don't need to justify your goals. You don't need to debate your decisions. You don't need to seek permission to take a different path. Your results become your voice. Your discipline becomes your statement. Your life becomes your explanation. Think of someone who used to argue with everyone, family, coworkers, friends, trying to prove they were right, trying to be heard, trying to be accepted. But now they've changed. Now they focus on action. Now they speak less and do more. Their silence is not distance. Their silence is purpose. They let their achievements speak. They let their consistency speak. They let their growth speak. And people listen, not because of words, but because of evidence. This is not about isolation. It's about independence. It's not about arrogance. It's about ownership. It's not about silence for silence's sake. It's about silence that protects your direction. Say it again. You don't need to be heard. You need to be certain. When you build a life that doesn't need validation, you walk differently. You decide differently. You grow differently. Your silence becomes a declaration of strength. You've learned the entire system of powerful silence. Now let's bring everything together in one final message. Closing. The challenge of silence. Silence is not emptiness. Silence is strategy. Silence is the strength emotionally intelligent people use to navigate a world drowning in noise. Today, you learned why speaking less gives you more control. You learned why the first reaction is the weakest reaction. You learned why truth reveals itself to the quiet observer, not the frantic talker. You learned why your emotions need discipline, not volume. And you learned that your silence isn't weakness. Your silence is protection, power, and presence. You saw how silence builds mystery, how silence sharpens your mind, how silence destroys drama, how silence makes you unpredictable, and ultimately, how silence frees you from needing anyone's approval. Every chapter showed you one truth. You have a choice. You can keep talking without thinking, or you can rise above the noise and let silence carry your strength. Now, here is your challenge. Starting today, pause before you react. Observe before you speak. Choose silence when noise tries to pull you in. Speak only when you add value. Hold your emotions instead of feeding them. Let your actions speak louder than any explanation. Build a life where your discipline is louder than your words. This is your moment. This is your shift. This is your new identity. Don't tell the world who you are. Show them through silence. Your move starts now. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like the video to support us. Subscribe to our channel A to Z Tales for more Learn English through stories. Click the bell icon so you don't miss our next motivational story.